Welcome to Cats and Rats Podcast, covering your Florida Panthers.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of the Cats and Rats Podcast here. This is episode number 16, and this number is important, gentlemen, because all that matters right now, number 16. 4 more wins to go. That's all that matters. Last year, we were kind of happy to be there. We thought we were maybe the team of destiny, but this year, all that matters is that number 16. 4 more pucks for the Panthers to put up on that wall till the Panthers are hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup. I'm here with my co-hosts here today, Cody Stevens and Nick Levine. Yes, I'm still battling through some things here. My voice is back, but I think I have a sinus infection now. I'm kind of beat up like the Florida Panthers were last year at this time. So hopefully I'm taking all of that for the team right now as this team gets ready and in preparation for the Stanley Cup Final against the Edmonton Oilers. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. I want to throw to my co-host Nick here first to start. Let's just break down Game 5, Game 6. I know you were in the building for Game 6, the 2-1 series clinching win over the New York Rangers. Nick, what was the atmosphere like? What are you feeling right now?
What's up, Kirby? The atmosphere in Game 6 was incredible, and in particular, that final 10 minutes. Speaking of the game, that third period was very similar to the Tampa Bay series clincher third period. Even after Panarin scored the goal with a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, that might have been the loudest I've ever heard that building. And I'm going back to Game 6 last year against the Boston Bruins when we won 7-5. It was incredible. Just, obviously a little nerves, right? But, it was just unbelievable setting in, seeing the Prince of Wales trophy come out. And it's almost I was there for Game 4 against Carolina last year, and I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. I can't believe it. And then we're right back there this year, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. The atmosphere was incredible, and, you're starting to feel the buzz around town a little bit. People are wearing their Panther hats. People are, just talking about it. It's a really exciting time.
Yeah, and Nick always breaks that down for us in our post-game show when he comes in after, either whether he's on the road with these watch parties or at home coming back from the rink. But my other co-host here, Cody, I don't know. I just what are people thinking outside of the Panthers fan base? Are they shocked at how the Panthers did this to the Rangers? I know it was in 6 games, but just how they dictated their game onto the Rangers. And you have to think they're going to continue to do that moving forward, right?
I mean, it's absolutely insane that once again, we're back in the Stanley Cup Final a year after probably a huge disappointment, but you, as a Panther fan, you have nothing short of 100% faith that this team will continue to play their game, because this run isn't like last year, where it was 1,000 miracles. We needed Sergei Bobrovsky to play ethers, and I mean ethers above everybody. This whole run, up and down, was earned by this team. Dominated Tampa in 5. Boston really should have ended in 5, but we played absolute trash the last 2 games, even in the series clincher. And this Rangers series, once again, was pure. It was the Panthers series to lose this entire series. It just felt like the Panthers were just owning the Rangers the entire series. People could say, "Oh, it was a 1-goal thing. It was a 1-goal difference in every game," but it was only because of Igor Shesterkin. It was no guy with a no actual skater on the Rangers really gave them much spark outside of maybe one guy. And the Panthers just did an amazing job just shutting them down. And the really cool stat here to kind of signify the dominance. Games 4, 5, and 6, the Rangers had 1 goal at 5-on-5. 1 goal.
Yeah, and they have a big good 5-on-5 all year. And is it the first pairing of Aaron Ekblad and Gustav Forsling? Is it the center brilliance work of Alexander Barkov? Is it even our middle pairing of Mikkola and Monter, who shut down the big 3 for the Rangers?
I also don't think
there's so many guys that shut down their best players. And then
I also don't think anybody saw the penalty kill performing the way it did for Florida.
Oh yeah,
another good point there.
14 of 15. I was hoping around maybe 75-80%, right? 14 of 15, that's incredible. And we know the Rangers, and it's not just, they don't and again, we caught a couple breaks here, Zibanejad off the post, right?
They did too. Bet it off the post.
Yeah,
Off
but
the post.
that's just what happens in a series. But again, in coming into the series, we said it again. Panthers aren't the most disciplined team. They have a little bit of a reputation not to be, and 15 penalties through 6 games. I don't think we were too undisciplined. Actually, that was the first part of it. But it really again, I can't say enough about the penalty kill because it when you look at it last year, right? Like that was I could barely watch the penalty kill last year. This year we're killing off the Tampa Bay Lightning, the New York.
Well, I don't
Rangers.
think they had the personnel for it last year.
No, absolutely not. But
stuff like that.
it's just I would have been happy with 77, 80%. 14 and 15 is just incredible. Now we gave up a couple
93%.
Exactly. Now again, we gave up a couple shorthanded goals, which kind of made up for it. But nonetheless, we took away the Rangers' biggest strength, and all that was left was really Igor.
I'm not saying we didn't do it by team effort, guys, but like in that Tampa Bay series, I could point to Forsling shutting down Kucherov, Montour shutting down Braden Point. This round against the Rangers, it was just a collective team effort. You're like, there's one guy doing his job there. There's a guy doing his job there. There's the pairing doing their job there. There's the whole PK unit doing their job there. It was just collectively like this team is playing the best team hockey right now of their season. I think it's not that we need certain individuals. It's just the whole team right now. And that was a very good Rangers team, President's Trophy winner.
It is. It isn't like last year. Once again, it's not Sergei Bobrovsky and Matthew Tkachuk just pulling this team like a dead horse. Everyone is contributing, and it may not equal. Not everyone's going to score a goal, but the fourth line contributed in major ways.
The third line played their best hockey of the year.
The third line is the biggest story for me. I mean, the cycle game, and you have a guy like Vladimir Tarasenko, right, who was I don't think it even gotten a point since game 3 of the Boston series. Right?
It was a bit for him.
So, and then you take a look, he's like hitting guys, he's cycling the puck, he's blocking shots, and then he obviously scored that big goal. But it's just that third line, like Lundell and Lostarinen, and I said this on our post-game Twitter spaces after Game 6, that was probably, and especially that third period, probably the best game and period I've seen them play since Game 6 last year against Boston. Like, they were incredible. And the emergence of Anton Lundell and Eetu Lostarinen, guy, he was really key part of our team last year, still was this year, especially on the penalty kill. This is really the first time in quite a while for Lostarinen that I felt like, okay, this guy's starting to get going 5-on-5. Like, here we're starting to see some shades of Lundell and Lostarinen's chemistry that we saw last year in the playoffs.
Yeah. And once again, on the Tarasenko front, me and Kirby preach this often. It doesn't really matter. Well, it doesn't matter for Tarasenko in this case because he's not really considered a big gun, but it really isn't about scoring goals or getting it's about doing the little things right now. Yeah. And he was in a slump, but I can't really tell you that he was doing the little things. So he was still blocking shots. He was still back checking. It may have been tough for him in the offensive end, but he still found a way to try and impact the game.
Yeah, that nice shot coming down the wing. I can't remember what game that was in.
Yeah, and then he had
game
the screen.
4, maybe?
Yeah, and then he had the screen driving the net in Game 5 that let Lundell score the game winner.
Yep.
It's the stuff like that you need from your depth guys. Mm-hmm. You need a goal here and there, don't get me wrong. And they've gotten that in spades. I mean, Evan Rodriguez has been a beast ever since the end of been a beast ever since Game 5 versus Tampa. Lundell has been night and day since the regular season. I'm really close to saying is he elevating his line now because they're playing out of their minds. And then Ekblad had a couple rough games in the Boston series, but this Rangers series he was phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. He was standing up at the blue line. He was moving very well.
I would say that collectively from our top 4, with all 4 guys playing how they were playing, the best collective effort from the top 4 defense.
Yeah, Nick and I were saying that off air. Yeah,
and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who let's be honest here, wasn't great the first round or 2, right? Dmitry Kulikov has been very solid throughout this whole playoffs. Oliver Ekman-Larsson was really good this series, right? And that's important because we talk about the depth of defense, when comparing it to last year, right?
That might be more important next round in the Stanley Cup Final with our defensive depth versus our forward depth.
But I'm just saying,
we have the forward depth.
I was getting a little annoyed with Nico Mikkola, particularly in round 2, and a little bit early on in the series. But the latter part of this series, everybody, Brandon Montour, Nico Mikkola, Aaron Ekblad, Gustav Forsling, even Ekman Larson and Kulikov, all 6 guys are buying in. Obviously, the forwards help, but collectively from the 6 defensemen,
Brandon Montour makes that big hit. We go 3-on-2 the other way. I was like, oh, just put this in the back of the net.
And then
this in the back. That would have just broke the Rangers
Mikkola,
if that puck went in the back.
And Mikkola getting the puck forward to Barkov on the breakaway in overtime that causes the penalty.
And I'll say this, Nico Mikkola had a chance to just easily break the puck out in the previous period in game 4. He iced the puck, which eventually led to the Lafreniere goal, and then he bounces back, and his effort there gets Barkov the breakaway, which eventually ends up becoming a power play goal. So,
but those are our biggest mistakes.
Exactly.
Lost coverage here or there. That's all the mistakes that we made.
Like collectively, this was the best series I think Florida's played.
Yeah, from all 4 lines, all 6 defensemen, and we'll obviously get into some other details later.
Yeah, and
we want to get to our series grades here. Cody, go ahead.
And before we move on, the most ironic thing, the Rangers' biggest offseason move last year when they fell to the Devils in embarrassing fashion was Vladimir Tarasenko and Nico Mikkola from the St. Louis Blues last year. And now they're on the Panthers, and now they eliminated them a year later.
Yeah, New York Rangers Twitter is still on fire right now. Some good
they're like
interviews.
Us after we got swept.
Yeah, they said they're not interested in watching the Stanley Cup Final, but we're used to hearing that now, as this is our second trip back-to-back going to the Stanley Cup Final here in the last 2 years. Guys, let's go over our series grades from the conference final. Who wants to go first here?
I'll go first because I took the biggest of L's. Holy hell.
Okay, Cody, start from 5 to 1, 1 to 5. Me and Nick will grade you. I don't know who's going to win this one. We're going to go through it right now.
I'm pretty sure I got 0 points for my top 5 here.
Oh, okay. I might have you then, but go ahead.
Number 5 at Adam Fox. Actually, you could. I think I could squeak half.
He got better as the series went on. Early on in the series, I don't think he was.
I can't give him a point there. Number 5.
I wouldn't give him a point. No,
not even half a point.
No defenseman from the Rangers was good this series.
Now he was banged up, but you also knew that, Cody, coming into the series
but I also
too. So you were already aware of that. You were already aware of that.
Yes, I was. But usually, I just felt like before she was like, it's a top 3 defenseman. He'll find a way, and I was wrong. Yep. Number 4 at Alexander Barkov, who I thought this series was way more about his defensive game, which it was.
You got him too low there, but that's still a point, Nick. What's your views on that?
I think he's
maybe half a point. Again,
because he doesn't have him high enough.
I think there are some other guys.
I can argue he's in the perfect spot, to be honest.
Okay, I'll give Cody a point if you think.
I'll give him half a point.
I thought he's higher. I'll give Cody a full point
because I think Reinhardt's higher. I think Bennett's a bit higher, and I think Bob could be higher. So I think 4 is a good spot.
Reinhardt, Barkov, you and I went back and forth on that.
And you could also make the case Gustav Forsling could be.
Yeah, so I think 4 is a good spot for Barkov.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he could be higher, but
3 and 2. I mean, L and L. Artemi Panarin at 3 and Chris Kreider at 2. I thought we would have Fitz with Kreider, and we just we got rid of him this series. He was done. Joe.
I was with you, Cody, on Kreider, not Panarin. Panarin wasn't even in my honorable mentions. I talked to Nick about Panarin. Nick was very down on Panarin, especially 5-on-5. Nick was like going off on Panarin. And I'm not a Panarin guy, but I'm like, oh, geez, Nick. He was going off on this guy is not going to be effective in this round.
Nick overrated guys, I think, and
that might be. He probably saw people on Twitter going off how good Panarin is. Cody, you might be on.
Well, I saw some things in the Carolina series, like back checking. You go back to the Kuznetsov goal in Game 5. That to me is that's going to be an issue against us.
Nick's like Kirby watched the film on Panarin in the Carolina series. He was yelling at me one night.
Yeah, but the whole thing was, I thought there would be points where we would give him too much space and he would burn us, like the goal he scored with 1:30 left.
But we haven't really been giving that space.
I know, but that was just a good defensive series from us. I thought there'd be points.
If we played as low as we did against Boston, but Pasternak didn't go off against us either, so I don't know.
But here's the thing. I'm also at the time I made this, I was going off of the both past series. And we did not play good in the Boston series, so that's the back half of it, especially.
I never wanted to bring Panarin in for $10 million. That's me, but I did want to bring Bob in. So I'll take a W there.
So I had Kreider, and he only really had the shorthanded goal. Nothing 5-on-5, nothing on the power play.
Okay, so not looking too good here. You got about a point.
And one's not looking good too either. Matthew Tkachuk, who we got on this series a lot.
Yeah. So you had this as a Matthew Tkachuk.
Another point of that is like I see all the analytics, like the shot attempts, scoring chances, goals. Like I know it. That's what the stats say. And again, I'm not arguing with the stats. I'm not saying he didn't play good, but it just didn't seem that way. Like you watch the games, you're like Matthew Tkachuk is not the most effective player out here. There are quite a few guys that you could make an argument on.
Bennett and Rodriguez played better than him this series.
I would 100% agree. Outside of game one, Tkachuk was excellent. Good. And then after that, I don't really...
Well, that was a bad goal that beat Igor, too.
Well, yeah, but I'm just talking about every facet of his game. Him and Bennett were really...
Bennett was quiet for the first game or two in my...
But then he just turned it up like three different levels.
Yep. It was a whole different series.
And then my X factors...
Yep. Quickly there.
This is going to be tough here. I don't know if you'll give me a point for this. He did score the series winner. By one X factor, I had Vladimir Tarasenko.
I would say that counts. He scored the series winner for us. And again, just everything else he did.
I could be flexible there.
I would say he has been a really key part of that third line. And again, especially the way the top six is looking right now, kind of needed somebody to fill in that third line role. And
I don't think the Panthers had an X factor per se in this series. We didn't really need it.
Yeah, but I'll take a point. I'll
give you one there.
My Rangers X factor, I think, he didn't play well, but I was correct in naming this guy because he didn't play well. I think there's a lot of reason why they lost the series, and that was Keandre Miller.
Yeah, me and you differ on this guy. I think he does good things coming out of his zone, moving the puck. But
his thing,
he makes turnovers. And Cody, you're hard on our defense when they make one turnover up the wall. This dude comes up the ice, makes turnovers, doesn't get pucks out of the zone. And he skates well at the puck. He makes good reads where the other defense with the Rangers can't.
But that's exactly why I thought he was an X factor, because here's the thing.
But he's making too many mistakes, man. Like, I know, but just play in that 2-3.
I know, but here's why I picked him. I picked him because I knew Adam Fox was hobbled. So they needed someone else to kind of pick up the slack. Lindgren was also hobbled. We knew that before the series. And he's the next best guy. So that's why I picked him as the X factor.
No, I get your logic on it, but in execution, I don't think he was there.
No, he was horrible this series. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think him playing bad was a big reason why they lost this series.
And I don't think he could have played the minutes that he was in the hard minutes. I saw him on the bench a lot of times, really suck and win a lot. They showed him quite a bit on Sportsnet broadcast for some reason.
I just don't think he had. I think he needed a lot more support from his partner. In all due respect to Braden Schneider, but he needed a veteran there.
Yeah, Schneider could have been worse. I said that guy can give away some grenades and some bad turnovers. He wasn't as bad as I thought he could be against us. So, like, I was thinking Schneider, like how TJ Brody played against us with the Leafs, where like,
if we're being honest,
Jake
McCabe, Braden Schneider was probably their second best defenseman in hindsight. If we're being real here, because he was better than Miller, he was better than Lindgren. He was sure as hell better than Trouba. I mean,
that's surprising.
I've scrolled through Twitter and I've seen about 13 different Trouba trade proposals.
Like, oh boy, Trouba, strip the C, move on from him.
And I can't even think of the other.
Because Zibanejad. So I don't know.
Gustafson. And he was just black. Yes. He was just there.
Yeah, he was a guy coming into the series that could have been an X factor, adding a goal here, maybe physicality there. Yeah, he was just there. I didn't really know some positive, negative, just kind of there. So Cody, I don't know. I give him about a point and a half there, Nick, combined. And also Cody had the Rangers in 7, so on that. I was thinking the Rangers like Cody, and less games too, Nick, which it could have turned that way if we lost another overtime game or two.
Oh yeah, for sure. But,
it was close. It was like the Boston series last year.
It was just, I felt like the luck would have been more on the Rangers side the way things were playing out in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and Cody, I was not totally with my pick of the Panthers in 7, which we'll get to after. But I was thinking the Rangers like you. So
I'll take my 2 points and go sit down in the corner because this was
point
1.5.
We'll go 1.5. We'll go 1.5.
Oh, sweet. 1.5. Let's go.
Okay, Nick.
All right. So at number 5, I have Matthew Tkachuk. thought, there were going to be some better players in this series. I don't know if he would give me a point for this. We
I
just
don't think
talked
he was a
about
top
it.
5 player.
I don't think he
No,
was.
you guys don't. Oh,
No.
I would give him like half it.
there are a bunch of other guys.
And Rodriguez, Forsing, Bob Barkov, those are just 5 guys.
Okay,
Number 4, I have Vincent Trocheck.
That's a point.
that's a point.
He was the
Probably could've
Rangers'
been-
best skater.
Because I'm going to make an argument for him later. That's a point.
Yeah, and him and Lafreniere, when I was at the games, that's the one line I was kind of holding my breath about.
Yep.
That was the
It-
one.
I looked at Trocheck's game log. It seemed like as the series went along, he dipped off, but he got a point in pretty much every game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the heart and soul of that team. You could see it, and he had an incredible series. Especially
Impactful.
very impactful. Number 3 probably should be number 1 is Igor Shesterkin.
That's a point.
You get a point. It's an easy
I
point.
mean that the guy was incredible. It's the only reason
I
the
gotta stop
series
leaving the
went
goalies off here.
6.
I'm gonna
Really, in my
it.
opinion, only reason it went 6, and I think everybody would agree with me on that. But
I can
Igor
make an
Shesterkin-
argument he was the best player in this series for both teams.
Oh.
I feel.
Absolutely. Number 2, I have Sam Reinhart. Couple power play goals. How many?
thought
3
4.
power play goals. Actually.
I like him around 3 or 4 range, but
Yeah,
2.
a little high,
there,
but-
Cody? What do you think there, Cody?
But I like him there, but because here's the thing, he scored the goal that pretty much changed the series. The minute the Panthers got the OT win in Game 4, the entire momentum just shifted.
And there wasn't a lot of big moments in this series when you're looking at offensively.
Oh.
So, the point
Yeah.
then?
Yeah, I give him a point there.
He's
And
got
number
3.
1 was in Cody's top 5. I think is a little too high. Is Alexander Barkov
Yeah,
again? I will say this.
I like it.
The work he did on Mika Zibanejad
Yes.
and Chris Kreider. I mean, and obviously the penalty kill.
Who is everyone tweeting about right now? What are all the hockey analysts tweeting about? What player? Alexander Barkov. Even going into the Stanley Cup final, they're talking Barkov. Barkov.
Again, the guy is shutting down opposing teams. Number 1 line. They had the right winger. First it was Roslovic, and then there was Wenberg. Right, they had so many different guys. They were thinking there was even at one point some Ranger fans were talking about putting Barclay Goodrow on the top line. Right, Barkov, what he did against Zibanejad and Kreider, and what he's done not only just this playoffs and all year, but throughout his whole career. Barkov, number 1. I probably have him a little bit lower. But again,
I'd give at least half a point if you're not going to give a full point.
I think it'd be a half a point, but
I'm giving him a half just because the placement's too high.
yes, I agree. Yeah.
Okay. So 3.5 out of 5.
3.5, yeah. So he's
Wow.
already beaten me. He's more than double my points.
Nick's leading in the clubhouse right now. And then your X factors quickly there.
So I'll do my honorable mentions for the top 5.
Wow.
I had Sergei Bobrovsky and Chris Kreider. That's there. And then my X factor, Anton Lundell.
That's a point.
Yeah. Again,
We let him have that. He started
Yeah,
the
but
series
again,
on the
it's-
second line.
it was hard. I could have went Low Storeen, could have been one Nico Mikkola, could have been another. I just went with Lundell because I figured he was going to be moved.
I
back
guess
down
there's
to
not
3.
one designated for the X factor for the Panthers, so you guys kind of get away with
And
the point.
Here's another guy. He didn't have a great series, but he scored a big goal for them. Is Alexander Wenberg? Obviously that
that's a
overtime goal. So
Interesting one.
you
Yeah,
could-
I'm not that one. I'm not giving.
yeah. Well, I figured
Okay.
that, but
Okay. So you're looking at like about 4.5 points here.
Yeah,
Around
4.5.
Well, I think Nick has this before I even go through mine here. So, good list there, Nick. And then Nick had the Panthers in 7, just like
correct. I was on.
So that could be the tiebreaker.
Yep.
I think you're gonna have this one. I had, and again, Nick wasn't part of this in the first round. Cody had me in the first round. I had both of you last round, I believe.
Yeah, so
This might be looking like Nick's round. Yeah, so this Stanley Cup final could be a big tiebreaker here. So here's mine. I don't think I have Nick. Number 5, Igor Shesterkin.
Point.
Should be higher, but point.
What about the placement, Cody?
I guess half a point for placement.
Half a point.
Oh, you guys are getting hard on the placement. Yeah, number 4, Chris Kreider, just like Cody. And I like this placement. 3, Sam Reinhart.
Yeah, that's a full point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
1.5 now.
And now this gets interesting. I don't think I'm going to catch Nick, but at 2 and 1, number 2, I have Vinny Trocheck, and number 1, I've got Alexander Barkov. I kind of made my points on those two. I hit the top of the list pretty good.
I think half a point for each. Yeah, I think because we gave half a point for Nick on Barkov in his last round. But it'd be
Not
fair.
even a full one for Trocheck because they didn't win the series. Like if I had him
No,
at 3,
because you have
maybe?
him above Igor.
Igor, yeah, that's kind of like,
Okay. No, I wasn't.
yeah,
I had a pretty good list here. Just the
yeah.
placement.
I
That's
mean, could have
The
gone either
placement
any way
matters
with
here. It's
that.
a top 5.
yeah. And then
So
my honorable mentions just quickly: Adam Fox and Lundell. It's kind of hit and miss a little bit there. My X factors. I think I did worse than you guys. I might go with this guy again though. Kevin Stanley for the Panthers, and then Jacob Trouba for the
oh
Rangers.
boy.
That might have been the worst part of my list, the X
Oh,
factor.
Truba. Oh boy.
And I take pride in that X Factor stuff, guys. But that was a little rough. I think Stanley could be. I think Stanley was more situated for a Carolina matchup, and then I think again versus the Oilers when he's out there on the ice with Connor McDavid. Which again, guys, congratulations, Nick. As we wrap up this segment here, Nick will take this one. So going into the Stanley Cup Final, we've each got a point throughout each of one of these series. Cody took the first round. I took round 2, I believe, and then Nick takes the conference final. So it's all up for grabs here in the Stanley Cup Final. Ahead this week, we're going to have some interviews. We're going to have our Spaces preview show, Stanley Cup Final show. I've got an Oilers guest or 2 lined up for that. And then we're going to come back with another podcast episode this week to give everyone our preview show for the Stanley Cup Final and do our top 5 list, our X factors, our prediction, and all that. So that'll be on the next episode there. Before we do wrap here tonight, gentlemen, I just want to say with Caneswear here, are you guys geared up? Caneswear and Davie is a place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team: jersey, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Caneswear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or again at Panthers Wear. That's Panthers Wear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear. Anything on the way out here, guys? As we wrap up this podcast episode, make sure to follow us on YouTube again. We'll have that put into the show description notes, whether you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple. Some people appreciate us getting this YouTube channel going because they're not much of podcasts listeners on the Apple or Spotify side. So I got a lot of nice comments there. We're going to start putting some more content on there, video and stuff like that too, maybe into the off season here and heading into next season. We just haven't had time to kind of do that with all our commitments here right now with the podcast and our Spaces preview show. But yeah, anything else here, gentlemen, on the way out? I know we're getting geared up for the Stanley Cup Final. We're going to have a lot to say here. Getting antsy? Yeah. Nick said
I'm
he's done
excited.
talking.
I'm ready for this.
I'm
I
like,
don't want to wait.
Nick says he's done talking. I'm like, Nick, we haven't even started talking.
I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. Let's go.
like last year felt like a dream. This just feels like reality here. like the Panthers deserve to be here. They just dispatched 3 tough teams with 3 tough goaltenders. And now you're just 4 wins away, and unfortunately, the top 2 players in the game are on the other team. The Panthers have done a great job shutting down each team's best players.
Yep.
Can they do it one more time?
Yeah, a lot of narratives here, Nick, with, this is Connor McDavid's cup. I say versus the storyline, and this is the storyline I'm making up. It's Panthers redemption story from last year. So those are the 2 things like clashing here versus each other in this Stanley
I think
Cup
another
Final.
storyline, Matthew Tkachuk coincidentally returns to Alberta. So yeah, we'll see.
This quote comes back again. I still hate Edmonton, but I hate Tampa more.
I think the Tkachuk hate will ramp up as the series goes along. Because right now it's McDavid, Barkov. It's the Panthers returning to the Stanley Cup Final. It's like, this is McDavid's cup since preseason with the quotes from him and Leon Draisaitl. I think the Matthew Tkachuk stuff is going to heat up as it goes along. A lot of our fans are just consumed with what we're doing as Panther fans, but I think the Tkachuk stuff is going to really heat up in games 3, 4, 5, and so on. So that's going to be an interesting side storyline to kind of follow as we go here. So yeah, we'll save our predictions here, gentlemen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this week ahead. We've got some interviews, some content guests to talk about. Make sure that you're following us on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure to follow us for our preview show live. It's looking like Wednesday or Thursday night. We're just locking that in. The other night, we'll probably record our preview show. And yeah, by the weekend, you're going to have all the content ready to listen to on Friday and then into Saturday, getting ready for game 1 on Saturday at the bank. So we're looking forward to this. pumped up. Let's go Panthers. Oh, and my family's getting hyped up for this too. A lot of my family in Northern Alberta. My uncle was going on and on about, the refs better call this series right. Like he wants 8-10 power plays for Connor McDavid.
Sounds like the last two fan bases we just played. But I can't wait for this week. This is Stanley Cup Finals week. I mean, for us as content creators, it's going to be a busy week. We have some guys lined up for the Spaces preview show, and we have a big interview this week.
Yep. Fingers crossed. Tuned. We'll have that out here soon. So I want to thank you again, Cody and Nick, for joining me on this latest episode of the Cats and Rats podcast. And as we always say, going out, let's go Cats.
This is the Cats and Rats podcast. And now, a special segment.
Hi, everyone. This is Kirby Lupo, host of the Cats and Rats podcast, joined by my co-host here today, Cody Stevens. And we have a special guest. This is someone off my bucket list. I'm amped up for this. This is a gentleman that I listen to as much as I can when he debuts on TSN Overdrive. He's part of the Got Your Back pod. And yeah, this is awesome to have him here with us today. Jason Strudwick, also goes by Struddy. How's it going, Struddy?
I'm good. You know what? You guys really pumping me up. I'm feeling good about myself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's this shirt. I did 2 push-ups this morning. Like, God, I need you guys every morning. Give me a call and get me going for the day.
Oh, there we go. Struddy, if you guys don't listen to him on TSN Overdrive or, some Edmonton hits that he does, obviously, he always gets into fashion and what he's wearing, going to his daily trip to Costco or whatever. So, but before we get started here, Struddy, on the Stanley Cup final, I just want to say, like, you and I were kindred spirits on this, and Cody's going to laugh here, but I love how you bust chops with the Toronto media. You come on and you just go at the Maple Leafs, and I love it when you go at Mitch Marner, because I love going at Mitch Marner. I know sometimes you add those things in there, and Cody, you know this. So I don't know if you could just speak on that a little bit, Struddy, because a lot of our fan base, they cannot stand Leafs Nation. I just call them harmless. Like, I don't think they're really a problem. They're just funny. I'm like, we match up well against them. We beat them in the playoffs. But yeah, if you could just speak on the Toronto media a bit, because I know our fan base will really appreciate it.
Yeah. So I just have to give the context. Let me give you the background. So when I played in the NHL, now I was on some decent teams, not great teams, and I was on some bad ones. And it always felt like we went into Toronto, that it didn't matter what we were doing. They always asked us about the other team, the Leafs. What's it like playing the Leafs? I remember one time specifically, I was with Chicago and we weren't a good team. We go in to play Toronto, and it was, let's say it was a Thursday, but then they were playing Ottawa on the Saturday. And Ottawa at the time was good, and Toronto was competitive as well. And it just felt like the Leafs media and their fans and their team were giving us no respect. And I remember I was so mad for that game. I got our team pumped up and we beat the Leafs, and we shouldn't have. We weren't a good team. And I remember going off the ice after, I was like swearing at the team, like, you're laughing like us now. Like, what do you think about us now? Like, I was so mad, right? And so from that moment forward, I've always gone out of my way to just go after the Leafs. Now, I do like a lot of the players on their team, but I love seeing Leafs fans suffer. I enjoy it so much. Every year, if you probably looked at the betting odds right now, they're probably a top 5 team to win the cup next year. Yep. And we all know that's not happening. It is not going to happen. Their team, as it is today, isn't good enough. And I just love how Leafs fans get built up, and then you just cut the legs out from under, whether it's the Panthers or Tampa's beat them or whoever. I just enjoy it so much, and it almost brings me as much joy seeing them lose and some of the teams I'm cheering for win.
Yeah, it's and Cody, I don't want to give him any ammunition, because I know what team Struddy cheers for in the NFL. I don't think he knows what team I cheer for. I cheer for the Dallas Cowboys. So, there's a lot of Leaf and Cowboy comparables there. Cody, you give me shots at my Cowboys.
They're the same. They're the same. Tony Romo, most overrated quarterbaird of all time. Great analyst.
That's my quarterback.
Great analyst.
That's my quarterback.
Of course it would. Oh, God.
No, that
says a lot.
Curves, man.
Yeah, Kirby, you just lost it. You just lost my respect.
My neighbor, my brother lives 2 doors down from me, and he's an Eagles fan. I had a neighbor move in the middle of me and my brother, and he played with Tony Romo in college. What are the odds of that, What are the odds?
Did he win in college? He probably not. He didn't win anything in college either.
He had some rings.
What?
He had a European ring. He was a winner.
Yeah, too bad it was
A European ring? What's a European ring?
Yeah, I think he was playing in I can't even Austria, I believe.
too bad it was like
he was an
in
offensive lineman.
Too bad it was the middle of nowhere, so like it counts just as much as a little league ring here. So it's just, but
Cody, we won't get into the Dolphins and everything like
hey,
that.
we beat you Christmas Eve. Come at us.
Yeah,
That's
you guys
true.
hang on a regular season victory, right?
But
Yeah.
but hearing that story with the Leaf fans and like the "We want Florida" chant, it's become synonymous
know.
with us ever since we played the Leafs. It's
Yeah.
it's really funny, but now we shift to the actual team of Canada right now. Probably been the best team in Canada for the last 3-4 years. I think Winnipeg had it for maybe a season, and then people thought Calgary had it, and then that series ended pretty quickly. Just how is the city of Edmonton rocking right now going into this Cup final? Because Florida, I think a lot of people, this is more of just like, let's get this Cup, more redemption for us. But how's Edmonton feeling? Because it's been since 2006 versus Carolina last time they made it?
Yeah, it's been a while, and it's been a bit of a drought here for Canadian teams win the Cup. But what I see is that, this Oilers team, this is their 9th playoff series in the last 3 years. And there's been some heartache. Like you think about the first year they lose to Colorado in the conference final. And now that was a really good team. And they were, to me, head and shoulders above every team. So it's still hard to lose, but I mean, you lose to Stanley Cup champion. Last year, the Vegas Knights, it just felt like it happened so fast. I know it wasn't a 4-game sweep, but the Oilers were in a lot of games, but ultimately they didn't win those games. And again, that team goes on to the Stanley Cup final, and it's just, that was really hard to take it. It's funny, you make it 3 rounds 2 years earlier, and that one you're not okay with. But last year was just devastating. The city was devastated. Like it was really rough. And now you fast forward to this year, the start of the year, the Oilers are literally in the tank, and it's like, what the hell's going on here? And a lot of concern. This is, we've got a good team here. Why aren't they winning? So they changed the coach, which whether it was going to happen with Jay Woodcroft, I'm not sure, but they changed the coach. Knobloch comes in, and he just seems to have calmed guys down and got everything going in the right direction. Yeah. So the team keeps building, gets winning, gets on a roll. And they have, I think the LA series was, relatively easy. Vancouver, obviously 7 games. The last series, Dallas Stars, the Oilers rattle off 3 in a row. They're a good team, really good team. And now here we are. All hockey fans are going to watch a East and West Coast battle here between 2 really good teams. And Oilers fans are really excited. They're excited. They're nervous, obviously. Just like, Panthers fans are. You want to get that cup. You're 4 wins away. And this is going to be I think it's going to be a hard and tight series. But Oilers fans are nervous, but really excited to get rolling Saturday.
I just want to piggyback off of Cody's point there, Struddy. If you look from the new calendar year on, could you really have a better Stanley Cup final than this? After the Oilers figured out their coaching situation, after the Panthers get healthy with Brandon Montour, Aaron Ekblad back into the lineup, and also, the injuries to Tkachuk and Bennett. This was not a healthy Panthers team coming into the season. So if you look from January onward, is this the best Stanley Cup final matchup that you could really put down on paper here?
Yeah, and I really respect the way Florida plays. I like their coaching style. I really like their team. Obviously with Barkov and Reinhardt and Verhaeghe, and then what's been the second line of really 3 irritating players, and Tkachuk and Bennett and obviously Rodrigue. Like they've got a really good top 6, and I think that I'm guessing the lines will be for the Oilers the same with Nuge, with McDavid and Hyman, and then I'm guessing if Kane's okay to be Kane, Holloway, and Leon, like to see those 4 lines play against each other, like that's a dream. We haven't even talked about the goalies. We haven't even talked about the D-men or the bottom 6. Like that is 6 really good players on each team going at it. So I can't wait to see how these guys stack up against each other.
Yeah.
Cody?
I mean, D-man, that's right up my alley. I mean, like I said, my favorite players of all time are all defensemen. Like my favorite player of all time, Nicholas Lidstrom, who I think is the best defenseman ever.
Struddy played like Lidstrom.
Yeah, very similar. A little bit faster skater though. No disrespect to Nick.
Slight edge, right?
Yeah, but one thing I think flipped the switch for Edmonton, because it's really funny because Edmonton and Florida won their series the exact same way, winning game 1, dropping games 2 and 3, and then winning the rest. And one thing I saw with Edmonton that flipped the switch was Darnell Nurse was just taking a beating from the media. Like, I felt bad for the guy. Like, he had two unfortunate things where, puck goes off his backside at some points. One blocked the shot, one goes in. But
Yeah.
he flipped the switch and just became a mean, nasty defenseman who just simplified his game and just went for the body instead of what he used to do, trying to create saucer passes and stuff like that. Do how what was it like just seeing that flip switch in him? Because you watch the Oilers all the time. It's just, I think this is the meanest I've ever seen him.
Yeah, so Darnell has a history of playing really mean and physical, and I think that for whatever reason, he got away from it a little bit. And he took he was kind of, well, you're right. He was kind of thrown under the bus here with the media, not just in Edmonton but around, because his plus minus isn't great. Now, plus minus in a vacuum isn't always the best thing. You have to look at, what was he involved in the play or was he not? But after that kind of confrontation with the media, he really kind of just got dialed in and said, I'm going to be really physical. Came out that night, had 12 hits. I think I want to say that was game 4 or 5. One of the two.
One of
they
the
kind
best
of blend
games
in,
I've seen him
guys.
play.
Yeah. So you're right, Cody. So I think that when for the Oilers to have success, that he needs to be intimidating and that alpha male on the ice. Looking at Florida, they have a number of alpha males on that team, namely two, Bennett and Kachuk. And Nurse has to do that. Doesn't mean you have to fight. Doesn't mean you have to be, spearing guys, but you own the tough areas ice, which is in front of the net and in the corners. And then, we saw after, I think the last 2-3 games with Darnell, he was throwing guys around, falling on them, pushing them down, and letting everybody know that he's the man. And I think that and the reason that I know he can do it is we've seen him do it in previous playoffs. He hadn't done it up to that point. So I wasn't really on board with the plus minus conversation because, again, you can be plus 20 and do nothing right, or you can be minus 20 and do nothing wrong. But he can be and needs to be physical for the Oilers to have success in this final round.
Yep. Struddy, you could take this so many directions, and you kind of already alluded to it, but I want you to kind of give me your answer. If Florida is going to go on to hoist the Stanley Cup in the next couple of weeks here, what is the main reason why they will? And if the Oilers end up hoisting the Stanley Cup here in the next couple of weeks, what is the main reason and that they're going to be hoisting the Stanley Cup?
I watched quite a bit of Florida in the playoffs. I do, like I said, I really like the way Paul Murray's coaches. I like their team. And I think that the forecheck and pressure that Florida puts on other teams is really going to be a challenge. And that's not being disrespectful to the Oilers D. It's been a challenge and for any group of D, right? Like that, it's really hard. And they're going to pressure you. So for the Oilers D, they have to really be quick back to pucks and make quick plays. We saw them rim a puck a lot in the Dallas series. We saw them flip it out, and we might see more of that. But that is, to me, if Florida can forecheck like they have in the previous series, it's going to be really hard for the Oilers. On the other side, there's a lot of games. I think there are a lot of parts of the Oilers game that are underrated. Obviously, I think their defensive play is not talked about enough, and I believe actually Paul Maurice even said that in his some availability he had Monday. But what I think that is dangerous for Florida is if Florida is going to be aggressive and take penalties, the Oilers power play is a killer right now. It is an absolute assassin. They're so good and they can beat you in so many different ways. So, I guess the series, or not that it all hinges on that, but if Florida tries to intimidate and abuse the Oilers and they get called for those penalties and the Oilers score, you'll have to change the way that Florida plays. They can't take penalties. So I think the reffing's going to be very big in this series. Not that the Oilers can't beat them 5-on-5, but that is one area. If Florida gets carried away at the penalties and the Oilers go crazy on their power play, it's going to be tough for the Panthers.
100%.
Oh boy, Cody Struddy, I think hit it on the head there with the Panthers forecheck being key, because that's something that you and me are big on, Cody. And then Struddy mentioning how this game will be officiated. I've got so much family in the Edmonton area. Struddy, this series, it's a lose-lose for me. If the Panthers win the cup, they're going to disown me for the rest of my life and be pissed off at me. If they win, they're going to mock me for the rest of my life. And my one uncle was bringing up how this series is going to be officiated, and I said, Uncle, I'm not worried about how it's going to be officiated. I'm worried about the matchups right now. But he's already got his mind on the refs and how it's going to be officiated. But you mentioning that, I think a lot of Oiler fans I do have that front of mind how this series is going to be officiated because of how the Panthers do play that aggressive bully style.
Yeah,
And listen, I want to be clear, guys. I don't think the Oilers can only win by winning on the power play, but I think that's So let's okay. You got to get 4 wins. Let's say there's 2 games where the Oilers go off on the power play, so that's 2 wins, right? So now you got to find 2 more. We saw Stu Skinner just win the game 4 for the Oilers. I guess it was game 6, but the 4th win. So Stu Skinner, maybe he can get him a win. And then they got McDavid and Leon. Do you think those 2 guys can go off for a game? So that's 4 wins right there, right? Like that's how quick it can happen, right? It just, and before you know it, the Panthers, maybe it can be really quickly sideways. But just like for the other way for the Oilers, if it's not that closely called series, now they don't have, let's say they only have 1 game where their power play goes off. Now you got to find 3 wins outside of a power play win, right? And that gets a little tricky. So that's where like the margins are so tight. So I can't wait to see how Florida approaches. Like, do they try to take it to the gutter? Do they take it with scrums after the whistle? Do they, early in the series take extra runs at Connor, Leon, Bouchard, Nude? Like it's fascinating Skinner. Because though Skinner. So these are all things that's going to be talked about by the coaching staff to be ready. And I think the Oilers have to be ready for it because I think they're coming. I think Florida's coming for them. Yep. That's how they've played. That's how they've done. That's what I saw against the Rangers. Why should they do anything differently, right? But I think you look at the Rangers, like Panarin. He wasn't. I wouldn't say he wasn't in the fight.
He wasn't in the fight.
No, he wasn't. Mika Zibanejad. Neither, but you look at the Oilers, like their stars, Hyman, 54 goals, he's in the fight. McDavid, he's coming. Draisaitl, he's coming, right? Like, but then on the other side, you have, Barkov, he's an elite player, and I think Oilers fans will get a realization how good he is. So you asked a few questions back. This is a great Stanley Cup final. Stars all over the place, and really interesting storylines before game 1.
Yep. Yeah. We appreciate Struddy's time here today, Cody. Anything in closing here from you?
Yeah, I mean, it was just an honor to talk to you, Struddy. I mean, great personality as always, an absolute beauty on the ice, even though, like, for me, NHL Slapshot, I scored 50 with you. So you were the heart winner that year.
I can't believe, like, honestly, you must be the greatest player of all time if you can make me score 50 goals. I wish you could.
That's better than Lidstrom, Struddy. That's better than Lidstrom.
Wow, Nick, like I told you earlier, he was too slow. I was much faster than Nick.
But
just kidding, Nick. Don't beat me up.
But appreciate the time, and once again, I can't wait for this. Like, I'm antsy for this fight. I'm mad that we have to wait till June 8th for this.
Yeah, my co-hosts are so young, Struddy. They're like, let's get this going. I'm all about. I'm a former coach too. I'm all about. It's about the journey, not the destination. And it's been a couple years in the making here for the Panthers, and you can even go back further than that with the Oilers, with the drafting of McDavid and Draisaitl. Both these teams have been primed for this for a while, and the Leafs are sitting on the outside here, so it's always good.
And they're going to be sitting there for a while. And what is crazy is that this series goes to the 24th, and then it's draft free agency right after, and both these teams have some things they have to deal with. Like, it's going to be the next month for these 2 franchises is going to be heaven or hell, and then you have to deal with everything else after that. Like, decisions you have to make after, like, who's going to be sober to answer the phone? You know what I mean? Like, if you win or if you lose, you might be drunk as well. So I think the next month
I gotta get Cody down there for rookie camp and all that too, and all that.
I didn't even think about that part because we got 2 big free agents we got to re-sign.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it to like scare anyone, and like not that I'm looking past it, but like it's just. Like, for these franchise, it happens. So you could win the Stanley Cup on a Monday, and then you got to try. Oh, I guess maybe they're not. They are. They're going to the Sphere. I think they are having the draft. Yeah. So you have to travel right away and get organized for that, and then figure out your free agency, who you're keeping, who's moving. Like, it's going to be crazy. So the next month, guys, you're going to have lots of content for your pod.
Oh, for sure. And appreciate having you with us here today, Struddy. Thank you so much. This is right off my bucket list. Couldn't have asked for anything better. So
thank you.
Wish you all the best too. Anything on the way out, Struddy, where everyone could follow you? What you got going here over the next week or two? Obviously, you're going to be quite busy too.
Yeah, we've got it. You mentioned it, but I appreciate you just plugging it. We got Got Your Back podcast. So you can check it out on anywhere you get a podcast. All Oilers. A lot of talk there, and then obviously, let's just hope that the Cowboys have a 500 season.
Here we go. Shots across the valve.
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna hear this during the
I
regular
forgot
season.
about that. Yeah, that's your fan.
Yeah, my other coach that's not here today, he's a big Cowboys fan as well, and he was
Oh,
there
God.
live for that playoff game. So can you imagine? He was in the building for that one. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Struddy.
Anytime, guys. Have a great day. Enjoy the series. I know I will.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. It was an honor. Thank you.